Hi, I'm Mike, and for tonight's meal, we have Nissin Miso flavored ramen, and I've cooked this before, but this time for tonight we're going to have some nice toppings to add to it. So you'll be here through the entire process, and at the end of the video, you will also see how I cook the various things, the various toppings. And this is, you have your noodles, and you also have a liquid packet, which is the soup base. So the you cook your noodles, and then you put the soup base in the bowl, and then you add the water and mix, then you put your toppings in. Before we put our noodles in, I like to blanch a handful of the bean sprouts, which also is going to be an addition. Just for about a minute. I do not like raw bean sprouts. So okay, we got the water boiling, time to put the noodles in. Now normally it calls for the noodles to cook for 4 minutes. They're a little too tough for my liking, so I generally cook them for about 5 minutes 30 seconds. Okay, we give them a flip part way through, and we start the process of breaking them apart. I find the faster you let them fan out, the better they cook. Okay, now here's the soup base. It's a paste. It's basically a miso soy base. And then we pour in the noodles and the water, 2 cups of water, and we just stir the mix. And the noodles are special. This is more a higher end. And then we plate our other things in it. We have our bean sprouts. I kind of like keeping them separate, and as I go along, I'll mix. And we have a hard-boiled miso egg, and that'll warm up just enough. I love the way that how gel the yolks are. And then we put our fried tofu in, and our corn. Now it also gets another ingredient, and I'm not sure about this, but they use a bigger pat of butter than that. That's about half a tablespoon. Seems like they use 2 tablespoons, but this is plenty for me. And that just sits in there. And I guess it melts in and then clings to the noodles. So then we're going to try this in a few minutes. After it's so hot it needs to cool. Okay, and now it's time to enjoy the meal. And I love the soup. It's vegetarian, but the miso gives it sort of a meaty taste, but it also has an umami to it, which is just a particular taste sensation. And the corn, I was wondering how to dress it up, and George's corn is so sweet. It's just, we'll let the saltiness of the broth go. And I'm interested to see what this butter's going to do. And I believe that's there to benefit the noodles, and I'll let you know. The noodles are as close to real ramen noodles as you can get. They're basically made laminated, with one has a more gummy, harder layer, and the other one's softer, and then these are formed and then steam cooked, then dried. And they really do have a satisfying ramen chew. And now for the fried tofu. We'll break it in half. I don't want to be a complete carnivore. Give it a shot. Yeah, tofu is sort of like a more bland cheese. It's made by creating soybean milk and then using a process to where it coagulates, and then you end up with a curd. I used firm tofu for this to fry it. You want to go firm or extra firm. And I do like the little bit of flavor that the coating of flour and spices adds. And the miso eggs are one of my favorite. I had planned to use regular eggs, but they decided to self-destruct when I attempted to peel them. Anytime there's video on, something always happens. Helicopters 30 feet over your house. You can't peel an egg on video to save your life, but these had peeled good. And perhaps I just needed to add another minute to the egg, but this time they didn't work. I think it's a video thing myself. These were coated in miso paste, and I was thinking it would be too much. That's why I wanted a regular hard-boiled egg. But that turns out. Now this miso seems different than the other. I suspect they used a darker miso. There's all different types. And the miso that I purchased is called white miso, and it's a combination of soy and rice, but to me it tasted like it had mirin in it, which is sort of, if you think along the lines of a sherry, mirin has that type of taste, but mirin is made, I believe, from wine, and the good stuff's aged a couple years. So I'm going to continue eating, clean up, and get out of here, and you all have a wonderful and blessed evening. Okay, another topping we're going to do is some fried tofu. And it's very simple. We take a couple slices of tofu, and what this is a combination of flour, a little bit of cornstarch, salt, pepper, parsley flakes, and a little accent, MSG. And you just dredge it through. And coat the sides. And this is basically to put a little crust on it. You can also put a weight, wrap them in towels and put a weight, and it'll develop more of a skin instead of a fry. And then it's ready for the next step. Very simple and very fast. Okay, now we're getting ready to fry the tofu. And we have a little bit of vegetable oil, and we're adding some butter. This is from a French butter crock, which is inverted, and it has water in it to help protect it. Let that come up to temperature. And we put our tofu in to fry. I found that I set this at about 250, and that keeps the oils from scorching. And it just basically paying attention when I cook eggs. I'll let them go a minute and then turn it off for 30 seconds. Then we turn it back on, and it really sets them up very nice without burning or scorching. We're getting ready to flip the tofu, and believe it or not, this is my favorite cooking implement, the 20-inch pair of chopsticks. And very often I don't even think of going for anything else. As you can stir, you can flip. And you can see how that's crisping up very nicely. And what I like to do is give the other side a good minute, and then I'll flip them and give them a little more fry. And you can also help, you can baste the sides, which will get them to fry up too. There we go. We'll let the oil cool down a little bit, and we'll flip them now. When you stop hearing the sizzle, we'll turn it back on. Back to 250. And that helps the oil from scorching. The induction cooking wasn't really working for me, and I just worked out a system, and watching Gordon Ramsay cook eggs, and it's not being afraid to turn it off and let the heat work its way through, then turn it back on to reheat it back up to frying. And we're almost done. Hey, one of the toppings for ramen calls for canned corn, which is something I've never tried and didn't hear of until I heard Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations. I believe he went to Japan, Tokyo, and he ended up with old school ramen. I think it was miso, but it had canned corn in it, and another surprise. And how it evolved was, after World War II, the Allies, mainly the United States, came in and had a ton of corn, and that was one of the things that kept the people fed. Cans and cans of corn, and it found its way into various Japanese cuisines, including ramen. And I thought about, I could get a little can of quality corn for $1, but I picked up my corn from George's Farm Market, and this baby only cost 70 cents, and to me it tastes a lot better. the reason why we're downstairs today is that microwave's turntable still turns. And what we're going to do is put it in for 3 minutes, and I'm going to try it for the first time in the husk with the silk. And we're going to give it a minute and 30 seconds, and then I'm going to turn it around to the other side and give it probably a minute 45 seconds, because I just picked it up on the internet and it says between 3 and 4.5 minutes. Well, this is only 1 ear of corn. If it's a little overdone, it's okay. I don't want to nuke it. Well, we're nuking it anyway. It says do not, I don't know if that's going to exactly work. We want it to turn. Beep. Give it a little turn around. Okay, everything's finished and time for the grab. Whoa. Woo! Well, it was not quite done. We're just going to give it another minute for good luck. Okay, now there we go. And one of the things I like about this is how quickly the silk comes off. It's a lot easier cooked in the husk than it is if I wrapped it up with wet towels. And there we go. Tell you what, it also smells great. Okay, now all we got to do is trim it from the cob. Sort of make a little handle. Trying not to slide it all over the place. And in a few seconds, we got something that tastes a lot better than cream corn or canned corn. And yes, it is hot. I don't have rubber grippy things. And this is not only going into this batch of ramen soup, I'm going to make my own miso soup tomorrow, and this will be one of the vegetables in that, because I actually have miso paste. And what we're going to do is make a miso vegetable soup.